They say history is necessary to understand because it affects the trajectory of the future. A lot of people may ask, show me a time where Marxism demonized masculinity, ruined the family, and pushed feminism to the brink of insanity and destroyed capitalism. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today would be the perfect day to provide you with the proof of a time where Marxism was on full display in one of the most decadent cities of the time. I'm Alan, and I'm your host, and you're watching the Cordials Tribe. Let's get into this. Let's start in Berlin, Germany, 1919. Weimar Republic is just getting started, or better known as the Communist Party of Germany. The founders were Rosa Luxemburg and Carrie Liebknecht. Both were firm believers in Karl Marx ideology. Magnus Hirschfeld, who was a Jewish physician and sexologist who was responsible for opening the Sexology Institute of Berlin in 1919. He was also an advocate for LGBTQ and trans. He was heavily invested in sexual sciences and gender ideology tied directly to Marxism. The goal was to sexually liberate women while making men more feminine, while also pushing for women to be more masculine, in an attempt at gender equality through labor and sex. Feminism was at the forefront while demonizing men for masculine roles and patriarchal society. While this was happening, the economy was collapsing in Germany. Tax increases were so heavy by Jewish banks that the average German couldn't even afford a loaf of bread. So many women resorted to working in these clubs with their own daughters for money. Many of these clubs were run by the same bankers and wealthy oligarchs. The men were so downtrodden that many resorted to booze and drugs, including cocaine, and paying for sex in these clubs. A painter and art enthusiast was tasked with painting the scenes in Weimar Republic at its height. He said, "I no longer hate people indiscriminately," wrote George Gross in 1924. "Today I hate their bad institutions and those in power who defend those institutions." He was speaking of the Weimar Republic and those in position of power at the time. He hated and saw what was happening to the German people. While Germany was struggling economically, the men were so tired, hungry, and poor that raising any kind of resistance seemed futile. The Weimar Republic in Germany was a time of gender role experimentation and debate, which contributed to a sense of instability in society. The new gender roles had a troubling effect on Weimar citizens as they psychologically emasculated men and overburdened women. The public attention that female sexuality and the new role of women received during Germany's interwar years paralleled the attempts to express anxieties about the gender in the arts. The Weimar Republic in Germany went from 1918 to 1933. It was a time of gender liberation and social change. This included the new rise of the new woman and a figure who challenged traditional gender roles. The Weimar period also saw the emergence of the transvestite movement, which allowed people to legally wear clothing that did not match their assigned sex. So essentially, we see many forms of Marxism previous to all of this. This is Weimar Germany. Now, you see this with Stalin, you saw this with Mao Zedong, and you saw a form of this, right? But it didn't really take full form until the Weimar Republic, when somebody tried to fully use Marxism, which is straight out of Karl Marx's book. So, if you look at what happened throughout Weimar Germany, and then you look at present day here in the United States, you can see that masculinity is under attack. It was under attack back then, and it's under attack exactly the same way now as it was back then. You see the same exact parallels, the same type of clubs, the same type of cross-dressing, the LGBTQ things that are going on. The first trans clinic was in Weimar Republic. All of these things are happening right now in our society. So my entire thing with these episodes and with this series was to show where this connection goes to and why it's happening and where it started. So it started back then. If you have half a brain and you can do pattern recognition, you can kind of put these things together and say, okay, these people back then are the ones that started this. This is the person who wrote about it. And you can see that pattern continue on throughout these different civilizations. It is used as a weapon. The masculinity crisis is a weapon. It's a weapon out of a tool bag of Marxism. It is a way of making the men capitulate and to weaken the men in our society so that it's easier to take control of our society and crash our economy and collapse the United States. The only way that they can rebuild the United States the way that they want it is to collapse it first. And the only way to collapse it is to ruin the men of the country, also ruin the women of the country, which in turn will ruin the family of the country. If they can make us hate each other, right? If they can make men effeminate and make them weak, the women will start to despise the men. That's just how it works. Women don't like to see men emasculate. They don't like to see feminine men. They may say that they like that, but that's not what they like. What'll end up happening is that the women will start to despise the men. Okay, so you make the men effeminate, then the women start to despise the men, then you push the women into feminism, which makes them hate them even more, and then the men start to despise the women because they are riding the tail of feminism. And then what ends up happening is that both sexes are fighting each other and they don't want anything to do with each other. This is part of the reason why I used to be part of the MGTOW thing until I started to realize both sides are being played. We're both being played to hate each other. And as long as we continue to hate each other, they're going to get exactly what they want. And that is to ruin the family. That's the bottom crux of Marxism. Because the main thing that they're trying to do with Marxism is they are trying to create a worker class that has no gender ideology, that is easy to control, and that will capitulate and subjugate, that they can subjugate easily. So if you look at what is happening right now, that is what they're trying to create. They are trying to create a worker society that has no gender, that has no ideology of its own, that is pretty much going to be a dogma of whatever they feed into us, which right now is just Marxism. It is a technocratic Marxism is what I think I would call it, right? Technocratic communist Marxism. Something along the lines of that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Get this information out there because this helps a lot with what's going on. I appreciate you guys coming by, and you have a good one.